What happened and what's going on with Snowpiercer Season 4? Hello guys and welcome, my name is Hallimar Rathlorn, and today I'll be tackling that question for you all, bringing you into the loop and refreshing those who might already know. So yeah, Snowpiercer Season 4 was cancelled. I may be a bit late to that, but after all this time, it's finally confirmed and the word cancelled is finally being used in relation to Snowpiercer Season 4 and not just for the show as a whole. A big reason for this is apparently TNT's shift in broadcasting focus thanks to pressure from their parent company Warner Brothers. Snowpiercer is just one of dozens and dozens of shows cancelled by the network due to a supposed desire to steer away from scripted television or television that is based on a script, like TV series and movies, in favor of talk shows, documentaries, and game shows. However, this shift in broadcasting focus is likely only a secondary reason as to why the fourth season of the Snowpiercer series was cancelled. It is well known within the Snowpiercer community that the show suffered from a weaker and weaker story over time, and this wound up influencing the viewership and profitability of the show. The first season of the show was heralded as a decent gem that signaled a bright future for both the story that fans loved and the profits the studios loved even more. The first season of the show, on average, brought in around 1.2 million whopping views per episode, with all but one episode managing to break past 1 million views, which, according to typical numbers, means that Season 1 brought in between 7.4 million and $14.9 million. The second season, though it produced more mixed feelings, still rode high, with each episode averaging about 900,000 views per episode, including the first episode that managed to actually break past 1 million views, allowed the studio to make between $5.4 million and $10.8 million. Though the second season did not make nearly as much as its predecessor, this makes at least some sense, as the first season was released at the height of the pandemic where everyone was cooped up in their home with nothing to do but watch the TV. However, the show still made less money, and when combining the lower profits of the show with a certainly extremely expensive cast with names like Jennifer Connelly and Sean Bean, in hindsight it could only seem inevitable that the studios would push to cut costs somehow, and with character removals simply off the board, it explains why Season 3 had such a poor marketing campaign, as it had become standard industry practice for a film and show to cost as much to make as it costed to advertise. Because of the third season's poor marketing and poor writing, which also likely stem from cost-cutting measures, the seasons was extremely poorly received, with not even a single episode breaching 1 million views, averaging a measly 650,000 views per episode, or making only between $3.8 and $7.7 million in total, almost half of what the first season made. Given that Sean Bean made about $1 million to be in only 9 episodes of Game of Thrones, that really paints a dire picture of just how expensive a single highly rated actor would be for the studio's budgets, even made worse by other faces starring key roles in the show. And keeping in mind that there's more to a show than just paying actors, that really paints a bad picture of what was likely going on inside the studios at the time. With these rapidly declining numbers and likely soaring costs of production, this is likely why Snowpiercer was cancelled after a fourth season, and likely why the fourth season has not even come out yet. However, despite this bleak outlook on the show, there is still hope for Snowpiercer fans, as, despite the show's total cancellation, Season 4 has allegedly already finished filming, meaning that all actors and funds have likely been allocated. But with TNT still being unwilling to broadcast the fourth season, as dictated by Warner Brothers, what does this mean for the Snowpiercer show now? I presume that a major factor in whether or not the fourth season of the show will ever be released depends on whether or not the post-production was ever finished, and whether or not another broadcast would be willing to buy the broadcasting rights off of TNT and Warner Brothers. If the show isn't completed, then it might not even be worth it, and like so many other cancelled shows, the studios might just prefer to scrap what they have and use it as a tax write-off, never seeing the light of day. After all, broadcasting the fourth season could easily be a risky venture if uncompleted, with declining figures and what is likely a hefty price tag, with TNT wanting to recuperate their losses as much as possible. Having to finish post-production on its own might just be too much for any prospecting studio or broadcaster. However, all is certainly not lost, as the very fact that TNT is looking for someone to broadcast their show is something to be hopeful for, as why would they even bother if they didn't think anyone would buy it? the very fact that they're looking for someone to buy the broadcasting rights leads me to believe that the post-production has been finished as well, and the only hurdle being that no one is seemingly willing to purchase the broadcasting rights as they stand, either because those rights are too expensive, or they simply think that the fourth season won't make enough money back. Although things are certainly more bleak than they have ever been for the Snowpiercer community, I think there is still at least some reason to hold on to hope that we'll get to see the fourth and final season of our show. And given that TV scheduling is done weeks or even years in advance, there is a massive chance that the show could be in the works for broadcasting as we speak, or better yet, getting picked up by Warner Brothers and tossed on their Discovery streaming service. But what do you think? Do you think there's any hope for the Snowpiercer series, or do you think this train has finally run out of steam? Given my experience in the Snowpiercer community and looking at my own analytics right now, it's fair to say that interest in the franchise remains strong as ever, but whether or not that interest applies to the waning performance figures to the show remains to be seen. I guess only time will tell.